Something weird's happening.
What you think about when you're born into a fire? Let them burn it out. Sell them to the richest buyer. They wanna let the world decay. They tell us lies and fade away, fade away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. Listen up now, because we're never dropping out. Beat the odds, beat the big house. The brains are bigger than the doubt. We've been thinking for ourselves, never let the truth fade away. This is bigger than ourselves, we won't let the world burn away, burn away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. To blame, haters face the world's mistakes. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. And we feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. To blame, haters face the world's mistakes. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway.
All right, pause that. Let's do this. That's muted. Okay, here we go.
Hey Daddies, it's me, the Linda Binda from TikTok. I wanted to make this video because I wanted to thank you for watching Cold Beer Confessionals with Will Bird. I think that's just incredible. I've watched a few episodes and I'm just like very intrigued. But you know what I'm most intrigued in is Big Daddy's meat stick. I heard that it's very thick, like a good old German sausage. You know, Linda and her coochie loves that. Oh, never mind. Let's not go there. Anyways, I hope you have a good show and enjoy it as you can. There's a lot of weird things that go on, especially when it comes from the realm of Linda Bindeland. So, enjoy the show. Thanks for watching. Peace out.
Welcome everybody. I am Will Bird, and this is the Cold Beer Confessional. Now, a lot of you guys know that I am from Erwin, Tennessee. I live in Erwin, Tennessee. The office is there. My house is there. Everything's there, right? We were recently on the news for the disaster, Hurricane Helene, all that stuff, right? So, we have had corrupt police, obviously. We're like a small southern town. Okay, that's just something that happens in small southern towns, no matter what. But it seemed like for the last few years, we've had really good police. Okay, the sheriff, he's older, right? But he seems like he's a decent sheriff. And the city police, the chief seems like a really good chief. He's a former Marine, good guy. I talked about him the other day on the show. His name's Reagan Tilson. Always been there for me and my family. Shows up when he's not even at work. You know, he hears certain things that come across his radio. He just shows up. He does a really good job. The guys seem to like him. He seems to love the town and his job. Okay. Now, recently, what has happened? So, a couple weeks ago, there was a random selection for drug and alcohol testing. Okay, in the city police force. They randomly selected, I think we're going to hear in a second, but 3 or 4 participants. One of them was unavailable. He was out on a call. Okay, one of the randomly selected was out on a call, unavailable. So the chief of police, this is no longer a rumor, the chief of police said, oh, he's busy, you know, he can't make it. The city employee handbook says that they can either wait for him to return, they can just say, oh, he missed it randomly, you know, he missed it and do it or what. But he volunteered to fill that slot. Okay, he said, well, I'll take it. I'm here. I'll take it. Don't bother the guy. They got randomly selected. Okay. The chief of police goes and takes this test after volunteering for it and allegedly fails. Okay. Now, 17 minutes later, he takes another test. And in this second test, it's still positive, but it has fallen what seems to be an amount that it would fall over an hour or longer, okay? It falls down so sharply that it doesn't seem to track with how blood alcohol content works. Now, what are some things that are going on? Well, first of all, his lawyer claims that we can't get the certification from the machine. There is no documentation certification. The same way, like if you get a DUI and go to jail, they have to show up with paperwork saying this machine was certified on blah, 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 and this is how we certified it. Here's the test we ran, but we can't get that. Second of all, this is the first time ever that the city police force has used the mobile testing facility from Ballad Health. Typically, what happens is they go to the hospital. This time, at least for the first test, not the confirming test, but the first test, it was brought to them. It was a mobile test. It's like a little RV-looking van thing, okay? Then there's just some weird shit going on, okay? There's just some weird shit going on. So tonight was the meeting. So tonight was the meeting that they were supposed to hear from Erwin residents. They were supposed to hear from the lawyers for both the city and for Reagan, the chief of police, and the chief of police is going to speak. They do some weird shit and don't let the citizens speak for whatever reason and say, well, you had your time. Okay, we're just going to watch it. We're going to hop in, okay? Apparently, Reagan was given an agreement. This is the only video I'm covering tonight. This is the whole show. So if you don't want to hear it, I understand. It's not about you, but whatever. We're going to watch it. Apparently, Reagan was offered an agreement to come back to work if he went through 30-day treatment and something else about not carrying a gun or blah, blah, blah. His lawyer says that that's not a very good agreement, even though they'd be willing to do certain terms. That's not a very good agreement because if he takes that agreement, he's admitting that he was intoxicated on the job. And that's all kinds of liability. Like he drove his car to work that day. He drove his car home after failing the test. He had a firearm on him all day. He still worked. Like, there needs to be some type of clause in there that protects not only him, but the city and everybody else, right? Because passively, even though it doesn't explicitly say, I'm admitting I was drunk this day, by agreeing to that, it kind of does, right? And that's a whole lot of liability for the city and Reagan personally. So his lawyer didn't like that agreement, but they were coming to ask for some other agreement here tonight. In the background, something else that's going on. In the background, something else that's going on is our sheriff, not the chief of police. The sheriff for the county is retiring this year. And he has made it very clear that he wants his chief deputy, his top deputy, to replace him. He wants everybody to vote for his protege. His top deputy is underneath him. Reagan Tilson has let it be known that he might run for sheriff as well, originally, and now I guess he is running for sheriff no matter what. Okay? Alcohol. That's why we're talking about blood alcohol content. Anyways, some people think that this is a conspiracy around who's going to be running for sheriff, who's going to be sheriff, what's going to happen. Some people think that it has to do with that. I don't know, but here we go. This is the board of mayor and aldermen. So we have mayor. He's sitting here in the center. And then we have 6 aldermen, 3 on each side. Okay?
Alderman Vaughn. Present. Alderman Baker. Here.
All right, they're just calling the roll.
Call the roll, please. Alderman Vaughn. Present. Alderman Baker. Here. Alderwoman Huskins. Here. Alderman Chandler. Vice Mayor Hatchet. Here. Mayor White. Here. Thank you. Board members, item 4 you have in your package for meetings.
I had Ollie with me this evening. I wanted to go to this, but I had Ollie with me, and Mariah was at a golf match. And I heard that it was like standing room only. Not everybody got inside. So that wouldn't have been very conducive with Ollie, but it is what it is.
August the 11th and August the 15th. You may look over those now. Are there any comments that you'd like to make on those? If not, do I have a motion for approval?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye.
So it sounds like they're just approving the notes from the previous meeting.
Moving on to number 5, this is the comments from our citizens. You will be allowed to speak at this meeting if you are a citizen of the town of Erwin or if you are a taxpayer or business owner of the town of Erwin. Public comments during the board of mayor and alderman meetings provide a time for our board members to hear directly from the citizens.
All right, so public comments right off the bat, right?
Of the town of Erwin so that we consider various points of view. If you would like to speak during the public comments of our meeting, please sign up. Mr. Blankenship has a piece of paper there with your address you can sign so that we can have a record of that. Each individual that is signed up to speak will be allowed to speak 3 minutes during the public comment section. 3 minutes time limitation is so that the board can hear multiple viewpoints and the comments won't be limited to only a few people. Please be respectful to others and their
So it seems like they're not doing public comment right now, but they're giving the rules for public comment right now.
during the meeting. This is an opportunity for the people to respectfully express their opinions and not engage in personal attacks. Please do not shout or attempt to disrupt the meeting. If individuals make outbursts that disrupt the meeting or engage in personal attacks, you'll be removed from the meeting. So again, please be respectful to others in the meeting. Is there anyone here from the town of Erwin that is a citizen or a business owner that would like to speak to the BMA? Anyone present?
I have a question about that, Mayor.
Yes.
During the alcohol talk, you allowed everybody that was a Unicoi County resident to speak.
I did.
Why the change of heart?
Well, if you remember, Mr. McGrath,
All right, so they have a little sidebar that he said, hey, during the alcohol thing that you pulled, this is another business that he didn't want to approve their alcohol license, even though they had done all the steps and it was just supposed to go to the taxation board. You allowed all Unicoi County residents to speak. But now we're just doing specific Erwin residents. Is it why the change? Which is a good question, because they had all these Bible thumpers. So the Board of Mayor and Aldermen in Erwin has no authority, zero authority to stop you from getting an alcohol license. What they do is they make sure you're not close to a school, and they make sure you filed the paperwork correctly, and then they pass it on to taxation, the tax board. But this mayor tried to stop a local business who was not within a school, who had filed the paperwork right, who showed up, who did the application, everything right. He tried to stop them in the meeting and have public comments and allowed all of Unicoi County to do it, even though it was a city issue. So a bunch of his Bible-thumping friends came up and said, I don't think that God likes alcohol and blah, blah, blah. But now that we have this issue, now it's only residents of the town, not people from the county, only residents of the town, which is weird to change.
4 years ago, and I made a mistake. And ever since that meeting, we have done citizenry. And it will be the citizens of the town of Erwin.
The charter's always
It
said.
will be the citizens of the town of Erwin. Now, with that being said, is there any
So obviously, we've already got issues, right? He's like, oh, I just made a mistake then. I just made a mistake then when I let everybody from the county speak that were against alcohol, you know? But now it's Erwin residents. You have to live in Erwin or own a business in Erwin. You have to pay taxes in the city limits.
citizen of the town of Erwin that would like to speak to the BMA? If none, I'll close that portion of the meeting. Are there any?
That was very quick. From the time that they were told to sign a sheet, until it was closed, what was that, like a fucking minute, dude? And we had this weird sidebar, and it was like, that was very fucking quick, right? No, you just write down your address, and I don't know. I guess people snitch on other people. That was very quick for comments. Because the only reason I'm pointing this out is because it's going to come back up in a minute. And it's weird that the comments about this topic come before the topic is addressed. It seems like we would rather have our town attorney, no matter which side of this you're on, okay? No matter which side, I don't care. We would have the town attorney speak. We would have Reagan's defense attorney speak. We would have that laid out in front of the board, and then residents would talk, because right now, all residents have heard are rumors online. It's Facebook rumors. So wouldn't it be more advantageous for the meeting to have the topic discussed, both sides lay out their cases, and then have comments?
Any reports from members of the board and other officers?
I hate this, all right? Because, like, okay, we had another really big, this was with the county, we had another really big board meeting that came up one time, and it was on, there was some cuts to the sheriff's department's budget, right? They were changing, like, the insurance plan, and it's already hard for us to keep deputies because we're such a small town. We don't pay very well. So usually deputies get trained here, then they leave and go to bigger cities or bigger counties or whatever and get paid more. And effectively, it was like a 20% cut to their income, even though it wasn't their pay. It was the amount the city was paying for their insurance. So it was like taking a 20% pay cut because you were going to have to cover that for your insurance for your family, right? And they asked for comments at the very first of it. And of course, only people have heard rumors on Facebook. So the comments get out of hand immediately. I heard you're doing this, and I heard you're doing that, and this is what I heard, and that's what I... And then they had the meeting where they explained what the cuts were, who they would affect, how much it was going to be, while they were doing it, but no comments afterwards. Why the fuck are the comments at the front of the meeting? Right now, all we know, because Reagan and his attorney obviously aren't talking, the city has only issued a single press release, which we're going to talk about the press release and how it was shady too. The city's only issued a single press release. Most people just know rumors from Facebook. They're probably coming here to get the actual information so they can speak about it, but whatever.
The communications from the mayor. This will come at the end of the vote of the board of mayor and aldermen. Number 6, disciplinary hearing for Police Chief Erwin Tilson. Mr. Seeley, turn the meeting over to you.
Mr. Tilson is...
All right, here we go. Is the police union not strong in Tennessee? No union is strong in Tennessee. It's a right to work state. No union is strong. I like Michael Baker. I don't agree with him on everything, but I like him. I like that he's younger. I like that he wants a direction for Erwin that is just not like, no, let's have Bibles and churches and prayer meetings, and that's all we can ever do.
Move to the table. Good evening, Mayor, Alderman. My name is Tom Seeley. I'm the attorney for the town of Erwin. According to our personnel policy, our appeals procedure, Mr. Tilson has filed...
Yes, so I just had to Google this on AI. I've never thought about the cops having a different thing, but it says, yes, the state of Tennessee is a right-to-work state, which means police officers, like all other employees, cannot be forced to join a union or pay union dues as a condition of their employment. Tennessee law makes it illegal to deny employment to anyone based on their membership or refusal to join a labor union. Labor unions have basically no power in the state of Tennessee. The law does not ban unions. It prevents mandatory membership or fee payments. It's a constitutional amendment to enshrine right to work. In 2022, they put it in our fucking constitution. Like, workers just get fucked like crazy in Tennessee.
An appeal that comes before this board this evening.
All right, here we go. This is the city's attorney. Let me tell you real quick about the press release. This is why people think, like, what the fuck is going on here, right? The press release was supposed to be about Reagan Tilson failed a breathalyzer, failed even in the least generous view to him, he failed a breathalyzer test. He had a confirmation test, he failed it as well, and the city has decided to terminate his employment, right, as a chief of police. Literally after this investigation had ended, and they want to put their thoughts together and send it to the news station, like an honest to goodness press release, right? Like, we were typing this up because we want the paper to print it. Something happens at the state level to where now they are investigating an issue where in 2024 they claim that some training hours were submitted for the city police by Reagan Tilson, and they don't have the proper record for those training hours. So this could be a miscommunication. This could be lost paperwork. This could be a lot of things, right? It could be a lot of things, like the state's like, hey, we're investigating this because you submitted so many training hours for December of 2024, and we don't have paperwork to document the training that you did. That could be a lot of things. It could be a ton of things. They combine that press release about the failed breathalyzer with the now under investigation by the TBI and send them all over together, even though these things have nothing to do with each other, right? Like, it was almost like, well, this just started, and maybe the reason this just started is because one of us reported it, And we'll pile this on that press release. So not only does it look like he's drunk at work, but he's also under investigation by the TBI. Like that's really fucking weird. That's not their standard procedure. That it was added the day of that they were going to send the press release. The press release was just supposed to be that they had went through their investigation, they had followed their steps, and they were following their employee handbook and letting him go. But they added that on there and released it to the press immediately. Very, very weird. Very weird.
The information that was given to the town by the private investigator, Mr. Philip Baker, who's an attorney in Johnson City. On July 7th, 2025, I retained attorney.
Now, Philip Baker is not the Baker that is sitting on the board and of no relation, as far as I know. Philip Baker, the town hired a private attorney and said, hey, go investigate this and make sure that we covered our bases. Okay? Hired a private attorney. That's where you're going to keep hearing Baker. He did a 40-minute interview with Reagan Tilson, 40 minutes, and decided that he was a full-blown alcoholic, had failed the test, and needed to go to treatment.
Philip Baker, an attorney who specializes in employment matters, to investigate specific concerns regarding the chief of police for the town of Erwin, Reagan Tilson, and the facts and circumstances leading up to a positive alcohol test, followed by a positive confirmation test taken on the morning of June 30th, 2025.
June 30th. I couldn't remember the day. It was June 30th. So, yeah, it's been over a month, right? June, July, and then we're in August. Oh, holy shit. June 30th. It's been a while. June, July, August. It's been a couple months.
Mr. Philip Baker conducted an in-person interviews of 16 different witnesses, including Reagan Tilson. Tilson was interviewed with his attorney present. Mr. Baker interviewed witnesses having firsthand knowledge and information related to the circumstances which prompted the investigation, including the ballot employee who administered the breath test to Mr. Tilson. On the morning of June 30th, 2025.
So again, I want you to listen to that. The private attorney interviewed the ballot health employee, which is our whole hospital, that administered the test. Because later, Reagan Tilson's attorney is going to say, we don't even have the certification from the machine. And this guy's answer is going to be, well, the private investigator talked to the guy who did the test, and he said it was certified. Why don't we have a copy of the certification, when they tested it, what sample they used, what time they tested it, what the fucking temperature and day of the week it was? Like, the employees, why don't we have because when I go to jail for a DUI, all this stuff has to be present. When I get in trouble for a DUI, everything has to be when I get in trouble for a radar gun, I have to know the process by which it was tested, how it was tested, when it was certified last, what your training is to certify it, what type it is, all these things, right? But here in a second, when we have a question about the certification of this machine, we're going to hear, oh, well, Mr. Baker talked to that employee who did the test, and he said it was certified. Certification is not a statement. It's not something someone can say. It's not, well, they said it was certified. That's not a thing, right? Certification is a certificate. And it's for that day.
Reagan Tilson submitted to a breath test, which was a ballot employee who administered the breath test to Mr. Tilson. On the morning of June 30th, 2025, Reagan Tilson submitted to a breath test, which was conducted by a ballot employee utilizing the Alka-Sensor RBT4 paired with an Alka-Sensor 4 handheld intoximeter. Tilson's first test was conducted at 11:04 a.m. and indicated a blood alcohol level of .080.
080, 1104. Hold on. We're going to take notes. (11:04 a.m.) 080, .080, 1104. Okay.
An air blank test was then conducted after the initial positive test and indicated 0.0. This blank test indicated that the intoxication.
Okay, so what they're doing here, when he says an air blank test,
blood alcohol level
Oh,
of
shit.
.066. The second
Hold on. I'll back that up. I was typing. All right. Air blank test after 0.00. So an air blank test is they just let the thing just breathe air. Okay? From the very, take this with a grain of salt. From the very, 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 very little that I know, when you're calibrating and certifying a machine, an air blank test is just like, hey, is this thing working? Like, kind of, like, is this working? When you're like certifying a machine for something this fucking important, you have standard samples. Like this sample should be a 0.06. And you pull from that sample, and it has to be within a certain percentage of it. An air blank test is like, hey, is this thing on? Is it working? Like, it doesn't stand for certification. It's just like, oh, yeah, it must be working because it's like a 0-0, right? If it would have been a 0-0 or 0-1-0, then, it's broken. Throw it out. But when we're talking about actually certifying the machine to within a certain thousandths of a reading, we have standard samples. Like this sample is like 0.057, and the machine has to either say 5.7, 5.8, or 5.6 kind of deal. Okay?
test is conducted on Mr. Tilson at 11:21 a.m. This blank test indicated that the intoximeter was working properly.
That's not certification, okay? That's not certification. Indicating that something is working properly is not certification, right?
A second confirming test was then conducted on Mr. Tilson at 11:21 a.m. The results indicated Tilson had a blood alcohol level of .066.
Did you hear that?
The test was then conducted on Mr. Tilson at 11:21 a.m. The results indicated Tilson had a blood alcohol level of .066. The second test is conducted after a 15-minute
In 17 minutes. In 17 minutes, it went down 0.014. That's way out of the ordinary, okay? That's way out of the ordinary. Usually you get a drop of like 0.05 in 3 hours. It usually drops 0.015. So we drop 0.014, okay? It usually drops 0.015 to 0.020 per hour. We dropped what it usually drops per hour in 14 minutes. We dropped what it usually drops per hour, in 17 minutes. 4 times faster than it should be dropping. That right there should have been like, whoa, something's going on, right? Instead of dropping this much in an hour, it dropped this much in a quarter of that time. That should be a red flag right off the bat, but whatever.
lockout waiting period to allow for any substances such as mouth alcohol to dissipate.
So he's going to say, oh, wow, this 15-minute waiting period rules out, like if it would have been an energy drink or mouthwash or whatever, right? That's what he's trying to say here. I think that's wild that it dropped that much in 17 minutes. That's insane.
Following Tilson's confirming test, the ballot employee used
By the way, I also heard that he said multiple times, no, I'm not drinking. I didn't drink. Let's draw blood. And he was told no.
a calibration tank, which confirmed the RBT4 was working correctly. Following Tilson's confirming test, the ballot employee used a calibration tank, which confirmed the RBT4 was working correctly.
Post-test. Right, you see what they did there? Post-test, they confirmed that it's working correctly. Imagine you get pulled over for doing 80 and a 50, and you're like, no fucking way, I was doing 50. My phone GPS, my dash cam, and my thing all work. And they're like, nope, this is valid. And you're like, where the fuck how do you know? How did you calibrate the radar? And they're like, well, an hour after you went through, we used a police cruiser traveling 60 miles an hour and calibrated the radar. And you're like, that's after my fucking test. Yeah, but it was accurate. Doesn't matter. He did what he should have done prior to the test. He did it after the test and said, oh yeah, that's right. That's right. He put it in a tank that had a specific amount of alcohol, aerosol in it, and got a reading consistent with what he was supposed to be after the test.
Okay. Following Tilson's confirming test, the ballot employee used a calibration tank, which confirmed the RBT4 was working correctly. The accuracy of the equipment is also supported by the fact that a subsequent employee of the town of Erwin.
So this is calibration gas, right? Is released into a tank at a certain level. They have super fucking accurate equipment that's reading it. You put the thing in there, it pulls a sample, blah, 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 whatever. Why was that not done before? Why was that not done before?
Erwin had an alcohol test performed with the was working correctly. The accuracy of the equipment is also supported by the fact that a subsequent employee of the town of Erwin had an alcohol test performed with the same equipment shortly after Tilson's failed test. This employee's test was negative, which confirms the equipment was operating correctly.
That does not confirm. A negative test does not confirm equipment operating correctly. No, it doesn't. What it sounds like to me is the guy from Ballot either on purpose or accidentally fucked it up, fixed the machine after Reagan's test and said, sorry, man, you failed. Then someone else took the test and passed. This is our town lawyer who's like, yeah, because the next guy tested 0, that confirms that the machine was working. No, it does not. That does not.
Based on the calibration test results and on the blank test conducted between the initial test and the confirming test.
Why didn't they calibrate between samples? If you're not going to do it before, why didn't you calibrate between samples? You had a 15-minute window. You already did the blank air test or whatever.
Based on the calibration test results and on the blank test conducted between the initial test and the confirming test, Mr. Baker, the investigator, found that the RBT4 and Alka-Sensor 4 were operating correctly and accurately.
He can't find that. He can't find that. There has to be documented proof that it was certified that day before the test happened.
Mr. Baker found that Tilson's failed alcohol test at 11:04 a.m. with a blood alcohol level of .080 and the confirming test with the blood alcohol level of .066 violated the town of Erwin's drug and alcohol testing policy for safety-sensitive positions, which has a threshold of .04 as being considered a failed test. After failing this test,
it's also suspicious to me that he volunteered for the test. They knew if someone was going to make him drunk, they couldn't make him sloppy drunk, right? They made him legal to drive, but not legal to be at work.
Tilson has claimed that the RBT4 and Alka-Seltzer-4 are not accurate or valid testing equipment. Mr. Tilson was involved in a vehicle accident while on duty earlier in 2025. He was tested with the same equipment pursuant to the town policy for drug and alcohol use. Those tests were negative. Tilson did not raise any concerns regarding the same equipment which was used earlier this year when he tested negative on.
Are you retarded? Are you fucking retarded? When would you bring up issues you may have with the equipment being used? When you pass the test or when you fail the test? Oh, well, he was in a fender bender, right? And they did a test and he passed it negative across the board earlier this year and he didn't have anything to say then. No shit. When I don't get a speeding ticket, I don't go and complain that the radar gun isn't calibrated. This is a weird, gentle, like smear on his name to make it sound like something weird's going on or something bad's going on here, but it's just not, right? He was in a fender bender. He blew zeros, and he didn't complain about the equipment then. Yeah, no shit. How dumb would it have been for him to complain about the equipment then?
On that equipment. Tilson has also claimed that he consumed energy drinks before the test, which he claims could cause a false positive. Some energy drinks do contain a trace amount of ethanol, which can result in the presence of mouth alcohol. This is the reason why the second confirming test is done after a 15-minute waiting period, and it was confirmed that the individual has not consumed anything. Tilson still had a blood alcohol level of .066 after the 15-minute waiting period. And the confirming test, which Tilson failed, makes it clear there is no possibility after that waiting period that mouth alcohol would affect the second test. Mr. Baker also stated in
Allegedly. I don't trust him to begin with, but whatever.
Report that while Tilson may have not been legally impaired on the morning of June 30th, 2025, the confirming test clearly indicates that Tilson failed the breath alcohol test under the limit established by the Town of Erwin drug and alcohol testing policy for safety-sensitive positions. In Mr. Baker's report, Mr. Baker stated that witnesses consistently expressed that Tilson had been a very effective police chief through the years. However, they also consistently expressed that there had been a dramatic change in Mr. Tilson. Numerous witnesses interviewed by Mr. Baker believe that Tilson specifically needs help for alcohol use and misuse. They have smelled alcohol on him at various times, both on duty and off duty.
This is all hearsay, and this might be true, sure. I don't know, but I don't know what this has to fucking do with it.
The conclusions of Mr. Baker's independent investigative report are...
Because Reagan Tilson has I think 16 or 17 people came forward and said that he was completely fine. They didn't smell alcohol. They didn't see alcohol. They didn't think he had been drinking. All these, that's just people against people.
1. Tilson failed the alcohol test, which was taken and confirmed on June 30th, 2025. This was a violation of the Town of Erwin's drug and alcohol testing policy. The failed alcohol test was confirmed on June.
I think that Reagan's lawyer brings up some really good fucking points that they didn't really consider.
30th, 2025, and it was properly conducted. Mr. Baker also found the failed alcohol test was confirmed on June 30th, 2025, and it was properly conducted. Mr. Baker also found the failed alcohol test.
Even if you know that he's drunk, even if you've been wanting to fire him, you needed to catch him. You knew it was, your police chief was, why not get blood and urine and breath, every fucking thing, right? Why not cover all your the machine calibrated 3 or 4 times and just keep testing that motherfucker, right? Something.
As confirmed on June 30, 2025, was valid. And then Mr. Baker's conclusion was the Town of Erwin is justified in disciplining Mr. Tilson up to and including termination as a result of his violation of the Town of Erwin drug and alcohol testing policy for safety-sensitive positions.
He's being railroaded out of his position that he's held for years, and I think it has to do with the sheriff's race.
Procedurally, on August 22nd, 2025, a disciplinary hearing was held in which Mr. Tilson and his attorney were present. I presented the report of Mr. Baker to the town recorder, Mr. Bailey, at that disciplinary hearing. Mr. Tilson was given the opportunity to address the allegations, and Mr. Tilson's attorney spoke on behalf of Mr. Tilson. Mr. Tilson made no statements at the disciplinary hearing. On August 29th, 2025, Mr. Bailey, the town recorder, issued his notice of termination to Reagan Tilson. Mr. Bailey based Mr. Tilson's termination on the failed alcohol test, which was taken and confirmed on June 30th, 2025, which violated the town of
He's getting fucking railroaded.
drug and alcohol testing policy. He also based his termination on the findings of the independent investigation conducted by Mr. Baker and the recommendations from that investigation.
What is it? The military had a term for midnight confession. In the military, right up until you had been picked for a drug test, you could go and say, I have a drug problem, I have a drinking problem, I have whatever, and get help. But if you waited until they said your name and then did it, it wasn't valid.
Mr. Tilson then
I think they call it a midnight confession.
termination by submitting an appeal in writing to the mayor. On September 4th, 2025, it was discovered that Reagan Tilson submitted an in-service training roster to the Peace Officer Standards and Training.
Right, this has literally, this right here has nothing to fucking do with this. Zero. After the investigation, after he was terminated, after they'd made their decision, after everything had fucking happened, now they're like, oh, he submitted a training roster, and the TBI is saying they don't have the documentation for it.
On September 4th, 2025, it was discovered that Reagan Tilson submitted an in-service training roster to the Peace Officer Standards and Training post-commission in May of 2025. This discovery was made after Mr. Baker had concluded his investigation. Mr. Tilson, in that report, reported to the Post that the Erwin Police Department had conducted training in December 2024. The Erwin Police Department did not participate in any training in 2024. This matter is now under investigation by the Post Commission and the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. And again, that is something that I want the board to be aware of.
He volunteered for the test. That blows my fucking mind. Even if you had been like, I didn't drink enough to be felon this morning, but I did drink last night. No goddamn way I'm volunteering.
I also want the board to be aware of that.
Because on my employment record, all I want is fucking zeros. I don't even want a 0.010. You know what I mean? All I want is zeros all the fucking time. So if there was the slightest chance that anything would show, not enough to fail, but anything would show.
Not discovered until after the conclusion of Mr. Baker's investigation. And that is not the basis for the termination of Mr. Tilson. But that is something that has occurred since the appeal was filed by Mr. Tilson. Based on Mr. Tilson's failed alcohol test taken on June 30th, 2025.
The audio gets kind of funky here. I don't know what happened, but just bear with it. There's some static and back and forth, left, right channel issues. I don't know what's going on.
Violated the town of Erwin's drug and alcohol testing policy for safety-sensitive conditions. Also based on the findings and recommendations of the independent investigation conducted by Philip Baker. My recommendation to this board and to the mayor is that the decision of the town recorder, Tim Bailey, to terminate the employment of Reagan Tilson be upheld. Do you have any questions for me?
He recommends that Tim Bailey's decision to fire Reagan be upheld, to terminate Reagan Tilson be upheld. All right, so this is Reagan's attorney. Now listen, he brings up some really fucking valid points that I don't think the mayor gives a fuck about. The mayor comes in all the time and tells him God told him to do shit. So who gives a fuck, right?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Board members, my name is Todd Hull. I'm an attorney in Johnson City. I've known Reagan for about 8 years. 2017, I was assigned as an assistant district attorney general for this county. I found Chief Tilson to be an excellent officer and chief, not only a former colleague, but a friend, a man of honesty and integrity. So much so that in private practice, a couple of months ago, Reagan called me and said, my officers have been involved in a shooting. I need them to have representation. And at 2 o'clock in the morning, I got up out of bed and came down here to be their legal representative because this man asked me to, and I would do that again. So I'm honored to be his legal representative here today. On June the 30th, 2025, random drug testing was conducted by the town of Erwin. 3 people from the police department were selected. Chief Tilson was not one of the 3 people selected. Your policy states, on page 15 of the drug and alcohol testing policy, if an employee is unavailable to produce a specimen, i.e. vacation, sick day, out of town, work-related causes, etc., on the date random testing occurs, the town may omit that employee from random testing or await the employer's return to work. Chief Tilson volunteered to stand in for that person. Nothing in policy states how many are to be drawn at random, and absolutely nothing in policy dictates that substitution is required or permitted.
So he may not have. The drug test wasn't required, right? He didn't have to volunteer. He didn't do it. It's not even required a certain number. There isn't even a policy in place for substitution. He kind of fucked himself. Not that I think that he was guilty, but he thought he was so innocent that he fucked himself. No one had to do this.
Chief Tilson was the first
He still drives a bus, believe it or not.
person of the day tested by Ballot Health. Prior to June the 30th, it's my understanding that when names were selected for random testing, the chief is notified of the names and has 2 weeks to get testing completed at the hospital. Obviously,
Did you hear that? The prior way this happened was that the chief was notified of the names. He had 2 weeks to get them selected without letting them know, pulling them off their shifts, taking them and getting them tested.
the hospital is not an option, or was not on June the 30th. It was done notified of the names and has 2 weeks to get testing completed at the hospital. Obviously, the hospital is not an option, or was not on June the 30th. It was done through Ballot Health Mobile Services, which had
Why was the hospital not an option? Our hospital got destroyed in the flood.
never been used by the town before. Chief Tilson gave a urine sample prior to submitting the breath test. And let me be clear for everybody here, the word blood has been used more than once by the media, by Mr. Seeley. This was a breath test.
Urine sample and breath test.
First breath sample was a result of .080. The machine was blank, and 17 minutes later, the second test was performed and returned a result of 0.066. This creates an issue. The drop of .014 in a 17-minute window is extraordinary. A forensic toxicologist
It's not impossible, okay? That drop is not impossible. It's way outside the realms of normal.
will tell you that is normal for a 1 hour, 60-minute time frame.
Yes, for 1 hour. Let's see. Dropped 0.014 in 17 minutes. Usually, this drop is not seen short of an hour.
Not 17 minutes. The machine was then calibrated after the second test. It was to be
Machine calibrated after the second test. Why? And if so, why wasn't a third test given? Who the fuck is the guy running the machine? It's like, oh, that was weird. We should probably calibrate it. Fuck it. He already failed. We'll calibrate it for everybody else. What?
shown working properly prior to the next person being tested. The independent investigation concluded the machine was working properly. However, the report does not verify how this conclusion was reached other than taking the word of the operator on the testing sequence.
Exactly. It was verified that it was working properly. How? Well, the operator told us. The guy taking the sample told us that it was working properly. He said it. He said it to me.
Chief Tilson was sent downstairs and minutes later was sent home by the city recorder to sort things out. If the machine was correct, the town sent the chief home in a city vehicle and carrying his firearm with a breath alcohol level of .06. The Baker report tries to justify that action. That action was not legally impaired.
So if that's true, then the city knew that he was at .066. If the test was accurate, he'd already been at .080. He's now at .066, and they sent him home with his firearm in his hip in a city in his cruiser.
At the disciplinary hearing, I made an objection to that finding because in the state of Tennessee, .08 is a presumptive level of impairment. You can be impaired below .06. Some witnesses told Baker that they...
Do you understand what he's saying? 0.08 is a presumptive level of impairment. Most people at that level are presumed not to be able to operate a car. There are some people that are not going to be able to operate a car legally at a .06 or a .04. There are other people that aren't going to be able to operate a car, can operate a car all the way to .10, right? The .08 is the presumptive level of impairment for operating a vehicle on average.
previously smelled alcohol
They're legally presumed to be impaired whether they are or not.
on the chief while on duty and off, which was documented in the report. However, no one prior to June the 30th reported that they had previously smelled alcohol on the chief while on duty and off. You can be impaired below .06. Some witnesses told Baker that they had previously smelled alcohol on the chief while on duty and off, which was documented in the report. However, no one prior to June the 30th reported to any administrative person that we're aware of that he had a smell of alcohol while.
Weird, huh? Weird that prior to this all going down, this railroad job, I'm fucking convinced they're fucking him. But prior to this, not a single person has ever came forward and said, "Hey man, we need to talk to him." Right? I smell alcohol in his breath. It was when he was off duty, or it was when he just come on duty, like he had drunk at night. But maybe he's drinking. Never, ever, ever, ever has that happened. Once he fails his test, everybody comes forward and is like, he's an alcoholic. I smell it on him all the time. I've been saying for years we need to get him some whatever, dude.
On duty. For going back to June the 30th, Chief Tilson knew hours before that he would stand in for the testing. He attended a budget meeting and conversed.
He had hours before. He volunteered and then had hours to get ready for it. And you're telling me he still failed? There's no fucking way, dude. Was he got airplane bottles in his car driving up to the test?
Conversed with numerous individuals that morning.
He went to a budget meeting.
Not a single witness interviewed noted behavior consistent to impairment, and this includes officers trained in the detection of alcohol. The report states none of these individuals reported the smell of alcohol, slurred speech, red eyes, or any behaviors out of the ordinary for Tilson. Chief Tilson drank 2 energy drinks, including 1 minute prior to the testing. Chief denies any use of alcohol on duty. The town was in possession of a urine sample that later was tested for drugs, which were negative. The collected urine specimen could have been tested for alcohol, but was not. If tested, we might...
Wow, weird how they took that sample and they're like, okay, we're going to test this for drugs. Oh, he failed his alcohol? We're just going to throw it out. Don't test it for alcohol.
Not be here today, as those tests, either way, could have cleared up the question of the breath test. And let's talk about the machine. We have no information regarding the certification of the ballot health machine. When a person is arrested by law enforcement and consents to a breath test, they are tested on a state-certified intoximeter that is maintained and calibrated by a TBI forensic scientist on a regular basis.
Not some guy in the back of an RV doing ballot health that calibrates it after you fail.
And any officer has to be certified on that machine to use it for prosecution.
The question becomes, they're the goddamn police force, okay? Let's say we have an officer fail through ballot health. Run them over to the goddamn jail and get a state-certified sample. They do it every day. Every fucking day there's somebody in there to do it. What are we doing?
And when TBI certifies the intoximeter that law enforcement uses, they use 3 bottles to test the accuracy of the machine. That machine was readily available to the town, but not used in this situation. If it had been, either way, we might not be here today. And some of you may have asked the question why the chief did not do that himself or go for his own testing. I wish he had. But imagine yourself in that situation and just being told to go home, not to worry about it. Chief Tilson was placed on administrative leave with pay pending the outcome of the independent investigation that had been requested by the city attorney. Leave was to be a period up to 30 days by policy. But due to some problems with witnesses by Mr. Baker, due to his availability and time trying to coordinate with Ballot Health and their legal team, Chief Tilson agreed twice to extend the length of the investigation. Any officer that...
How fucked up, dude. He could have pressed it and been like, no, you got 30 days to finish this investigation, and that's it. But he's like, no, take all the time you need. We got it.
And law enforcement will tell you that due process means a lot. Chief Tilson was sent home under a failed test in violation of town policy. Shortly thereafter, he was offered a return-to-work agreement. The conditions outlined in the first return-to-work agreement were conditional upon him admitting to an alcohol problem. He discussed with the city attorney the position that he could not and would not admit to being drunk on duty. A second return-to-work agreement was sent with similar conditions as the first one, but not a direct admission. That agreement had one clerical error on some time dates from what was discussed on the phone, but was acceptable to the chief except for two things. He was agreeable to alcohol and drug assessment, a probationary period, and random testing during that period. But the town would not let him drive a vehicle and not carry a gun. The reason for those two things explained to him would be a liability for the town. First, if driving a vehicle would have been liability, that's already occurred if he was intoxicated the day of the test, which we deny he was. But if you believe the test results, that's what happened. And not carrying a gun would have been an issue for both the town and the chief for safety reasons. Between the second and third return-to-work agreements, the chief asked me to review the agreement, which outlined the failed breath test, but no acknowledgement, a substance abuse assessment by a qualified professional approved by the employer, and to follow all recommendations and a shorter period of time of administrative leave. And in the hours reviewing the agreement, it was revoked.
So he sent it to his lawyer and said, hey, we might have an agreement here, right? We might have an agreement here to go back to work. The assessment, you know, I have an issue with the gun and car or whatever. I redlined it, sent it back. I want you to review this because I'm probably getting ready to sign it. And then while his lawyer was reviewing it, within hours of it being sent to his lawyer to be reviewed, it was revoked. Nah, we're not going to do this. We decided to go a different way. That's slimy as hell. Even if that's not like illegal or fucking, you know, that's slimy as hell, right? I don't know. My town is such a shit show, dude. I don't even know what to say anymore. After having fucking Kent Harris run around on jet skis and fucking head injuries and shit, my town. And then we got the mayor saying God told him not to approve alcohol permits for the town. Like, what the fuck, dude? What is going on here?
Now, we're here today. Your chief has been your chief for 17 years. That's more.
17 years, dude. Never has he ever had any disciplinary action on his shit, right? 17 years. He's never had a negative disciplinary note or action taken or anything. Ever. In 17 years. My brother-in-law served with him in the Marine Corps. Like, what the fuck is going on here?
More than 6,200 days as your chief of police. But we're here today to judge him on one day. If you want to judge him on one day, let's judge him on September 27th from the roof of the hospital. If you look at the Baker report, everyone interviewed talked about a difference in the chief that was predominant after the flood. Obviously, it's traumatic for everyone in Erwin, Unicoi County, but when an officer goes through something traumatic, they normally go through critical incident debriefing, which the chief did not go through. Mr. Baker's report recommends a 30-day inpatient treatment for substance abuse, a decision made by someone that's not a licensed professional in that capacity.
Yeah, so the medical recommendation was from a lawyer, private investigator. The private investigator made the medical recommendation for the 30-day inpatient treatment. By the way, he agreed to go to a, what are they called? Where they like, you talk to them and an assessment. He agreed to go to drug and alcohol assessments. That was part of the agreement he was going to sign, right? And whatever, and follow whatever recommendations they had. But a private investigator who's a lawyer comes back with a recommendation of 30-day in-person treatment, right? Weird. Hold on, I gotta unplug something. Before I set myself on fire. I'm smoothing a 3D print over here while watching, so.
And based on one interview discussing the facts of this case. During the disciplinary hearing with Mr. Bailey, we offered to do A&D assessment by a licensed professional, a
Alcohol and drugs assessment by a licensed professional.
psychological exam, undergo critical incident debriefing, and random testing. However, Mr. Bailey's decision was termination. But here's the part that bothers me.
So they agreed to all that, right? We'll do an assessment. We'll follow the recommendations of the assessment. We also want to get him counseling for what happened during the flood, which fuck everybody that survived the flood here could probably use counseling. I know I could. Like it was fucked up. My kids got counseling at their school, right? Like they agreed to do everything, but they still went with termination after they had talked to him about doing these things and asked for him to agree to do these things. He sends it to his lawyer. He agrees to do these things. They come back with an offer to do these things, and they're like, no, that offer is no longer on the table, kind of deal. Maybe God told him to do it. I don't know.
Me the most. Incident debriefing and random testing. However, Mr. Bailey's decision was termination. But here's the part that bothers me the most. While under review by legal counsel, the return to work agreement was revoked. The reason given was that the board had been polled and the board wanted termination. Disciplinary action is the discretion of the city recorder according to your policy. Prior to any formal hearing, the chief was basically out of a job. I feel.
So this is fucked up, right? So the way that it was supposed to be, the way that the rules that the city operates by says is that the city recorder, all right, can offer this return to work agreement. And he did. But then they said, which is not in the handbook, it's not a stipulation, it has nothing to do with it, that the board was polled and instead they decided they wanted termination rather than a return to work agreement. But that's not part of the process, right? That's not part of the process. Imagine like you go up, you say you've been in jail and you go up for parole, okay? And you have to meet in front of a parole board, and the parole board's job is to look at your case, talk to you, and see if you're eligible for parole. And they're like, okay, yeah, we think you're eligible for parole. It'll be another 30 days. And then you come back to get out on parole, and they're like, well, we went and polled the top scientists and whatever. It doesn't matter, right? It's not part of the process.
Mr. Bailey did not have any discretion to do his job, and considering the appeal process is to the board, with the mayor having the final say,
the only thing I can say from this is I hope he becomes sheriff, and I think he's going to be able to sue the fuck out of them. I know that sucks for people living here because you foot the bill while God commands the mayor, but it doesn't seem right.
Polling of the board prior to any formal hearing or prior to any formal decision by the recorder, the due process awarded Chief Tilson under the town policy was negated.
The due process was negated because you guys had a secret poll after the recorder offered him this. You had a secret poll, and the poll said that no. Why wasn't he allowed to speak before you voted on this poll? Why wasn't he interviewed? Why didn't you guys talk to him? Why didn't he have a statement? Why wasn't his lawyer there? What is this poll you guys had?
And as far as the training records, that's under investigation. We don't know anything. We were told Friday evening about a question Post had on training. So I know Mr. Seeley said that came up after Mr. Bailey's report. We can't address that.
They did, but they shouldn't have been included. None of that should have been included. That's a different issue.
For the fact that we don't know anything about that, other than 48 hours ago we were told there's an issue. You want to make a statement?
Insane.
Good afternoon. I've addressed this board before. I'll keep it short and sweet. I can assure you I was not drinking then. This is a test that's not even allowed in court. I have never drunk on
A test that's not allowed in court. That's pretty good.
duty, not one time, ever. As far as the Baker report, I don't know how he judges me in a 40-minute interview. I just don't get that. There was a lot of language in that report I'd heard before. I get a press release about every day now. I'm the media darling, I guess. And I don't know when we've ever done that before. But they're going to keep digging. They're going to see what they can do. And I don't know why. I served this city proudly for 20 years. 3 years as an investigator, 17 years as your chief, without so much as one disciplinary thing in my personnel policy or personnel file. The only thing you'll find in there is life-saving awards from the state. I would like to keep my job. I think I've done it well, and I've served this board, I've served this town, I've served this community. And I think it's important that you understand. I would not have volunteered for that test not once but twice. I am not that dumb. I could have absolutely walked away from that test that morning because other people that were on the list were on duty and they went to a call, and I said, I'm already here, I'll take it. Again, I'm little, but I'm not dumb. I wouldn't have done it. I didn't have to. And as far as the one during the wreck, that was later in the evening. I think it was around 7 when that happened. In the evening, I hadn't been drinking energy drinks. I didn't know those tests would do that until that happened. And that's the truth.
So what he's saying, I didn't complain about the test because I didn't. It was 8 o'clock at night, 8 o'clock at night. I wasn't drinking energy drinks. If I would have failed that test after having an energy drink, then I would have had to complain about it. This was first thing in the morning, or in the morning.
And I was finished by saying, we respect the board's decision, but we would ask you to reinstate the chief under any conditions that you deem necessary.
Any conditions. Any conditions. Reinstate the chief under any conditions. Nope.
He's willing to do whatever it is. He loves this town. He loves his citizens. He loves his job. He loves his guys.
Thank you, Stephen.
Just briefly, just for clarification, if I did say blood test, then I misspoke. It always was a breath test. I want to make that clear. I may have misspoken and said blood at one point, but it was a breath test. But Mr. Baker did interview the ballot employee. He researched the equipment that was used. He reviewed our procedure.
You know what stops this right here? Here is the hard copy of the certification for the machine that he was tested on. Well, he did interview the employee that used the machine, and he researched those machines. Why can't you show me a certification for the machine? Why?
And he said the machine was calibrated correctly, and that's why they do the blank test, the 0.0. Energy drinks after the 15-minute waiting period will not affect...
Allegedly. You're not a scientist, right? You don't study. You're not a fucking subject matter expert. We're told, at least use this language to protect yourself. We're told, what we've been told is that energy drinks after a 15-minute waiting period. Why the fuck are you up there giving, this isn't you, dude. This isn't your call.
The breath test. And again, he still blew a .06.
Again, he's making a definitive statement. They do not show up after 50 minutes. Even when you Google this, it says it is unlikely for an energy drink to cause a false positive on breathalyzer test after a 50-minute waiting period. Unlikely. Does that sound like these do not show up after 15 minutes?
After the 15-minute waiting period. And again, we did attempt to offer Chief Tilson a return to work agreement with certain conditions, primarily with the condition being that he get help for his use of alcohol. But, and I will say this very clearly, there was never a condition that he had to admit that he was drunk. That is absolutely false.
The first condition says that he was admitting to failing the breathalyzer test on duty. Does that specifically say, I'm admitting that I was drunk on duty? No. What does that imply? That 1,000% implies that you were drunk on duty. He was willing to do the assessment and the counseling and the therapy and the everything, right? Even tonight, he said, I'll do anything. Whatever your stipulations are as the board. if you admit that you failed the breathalyzer, you're admitting that you were drunk on duty.
He had to admit that he failed the breath test on that day.
That's the same shit, dude. That's the same fucking shit.
That was the only admission that was submitted to him. The return to work agreement then fell apart because Chief Tilson would not accept the terms that dealt with carrying a firearm or not carrying a firearm in that period of time. We went back and forth over that and were not able to reach an agreement. So again, the town's position as a town attorney based on Mr. Baker's report is to follow his recommendation and uphold Mr. Bailey's decision.
I don't know how you get to be a town attorney in a town this small, but god damn, does it seem like you're not a great attorney.
To terminate Mr. Tilson.
Mr. Seeley, while you're present, we're going to move on where it says in number 6, the disciplinary hearing for Police Chief Reagan Tilson. Will you explain to the board their duties that do they render a decision and what happens?
Yes, the personnel policy that we have states that the board.
By the way, this is a fucked up personnel policy. So basically, the mayor gets to decide, and he's just supposed to take everybody's opinion into account. There is no repercussions. The board can't decide unanimously. It doesn't matter. Even if the board all said, we want him back on the job with no restrictions, the mayor could say he's fired.
The mayor and alderman shall thoroughly review the circumstances relating to the appealed action and render a decision. And so again, the board has been provided a copy.
The board renders a decision
Of Mr. Baker's independent investigative report. You've heard from me, the town attorney, and you've heard from Mr. Hull and Mr. Tilson. And so again, according to our policy, the board has to make.
Glenn White is a decent guy. He was an all right teacher. He's fun to hang out with, right? He was my football coach. He taught in history. He can't remember Mariah's name, even though she had him for homeroom for 4 years, and up until this day, he always gets her name wrong. He's not a mayor. He shouldn't be mayor.
Make a decision after the board has made their decision. Then the mayor is to make a decision, and our policy says then.
After the board has made their decision, then the mayor makes a decision?
The decision of the mayor shall be final.
The decision of the mayor is final. So the investigation can make a decision. The attorney can make a decision. The town recorder can make a decision. The board can make a decision, and they could all be on the same side, and the mayor could say no. He's just supposed to take that into account.
So the mayor basically considers the board's decision as a recommendation, as it does with regard to Mr. Bailey's decision to terminate Mr. Tilson.
So the board will make a decision whether to uphold Mr. Bailey's decision or not. Is that correct?
Yes, there'll need to be a motion, a second, then a vote on that. And then after that's been voted on, then the mayor makes the final decision based on all that he's heard.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Seeley. Can I ask a question? Yes, sir, you can. Tom.
Here we go. Listen to this. Listen to this.
So we knew about the failed blow test by the chief. And it was told to the board to keep it really quiet, and then eventually, several weeks later, or more than a week later, there was a press release sent out. Why, and this is, I guess, either a mayor or your call, and I would want an answer from either one of you. Why on Friday, whenever we were informed about this post issue in TBI, why was that included in the press release that was sent to the media concerning this issue? Because in my
So for weeks, they're like, we'll keep it quiet, we'll keep it quiet, we'll keep it quiet. Then we're going to have to do a press release. But then as soon as this other information comes out, they're like, stick that on the press release and send it over.
In my mind, these are two separate issues. We're not voting on the post and the training issue. We're voting on this failed alcohol breathalyzer test.
So you're correct that you're not voting on the post issue tonight. But that is something that was discovered this week. All right, and so that was discovered. The post issue that what appeared to be a false document was submitted to the post. We don't know that. That's currently under investigation. And so Friday, again, that news was coming out one way or the other. So again, it's been our practice to issue a press release when we know that news is coming out. So again, that was my recommendation, to issue a press release that addressed both the alcohol issue, because at that point
It was his recommendation that, let's put them together.
they were going forward with their appeal, and the issue with regard to the post, because that was going to probably be in the news also. So that's why a press release was issued at that time.
my issue with it is that it was one press release, one
The timing.
page with information concerning the entire report being released to the media, as well as the post-certification issue. It just seemed not in the best taste in my mind to have it on one page and send it to the media.
Well, we weren't looking at taste. We were looking at what was going to be the most effective way to notify all media outlets of those two.
Oh yeah, it's pretty hard to notify media outlets nowadays, so we had to get it. What if our press release had been hijacked by pirates? Better send it all together.
Issues. So again, that's why we didn't issue separate press releases. We issued.
They hate Michael Baker because he's young, he owns a bar, he doesn't give a fuck about your church's opinions on how the government should run. They hate Michael Baker.
One press release.
That guy, Randy Higgins, that I'm always reading his post, his personal enemy is Michael Baker. He's like, you claim to be a Christian, but you own a bar. I know that they drink down there. Yeah, it's a bar, you fucking retard.
That was what the town knew at that point in time, and that's what we released.
Any other questions for Mr. Seeley? Any questions concerning the motion that I need? I need a motion to uphold City Recorder Tim Bailey's.
All right, so now all the issues are out, right? Now we know both sides. Now would be a very good time to take public comment. And someone even brings that up. Someone brings that up and they fight with the mayor. So just watch.
This isn't
Are we
terminate
allowed to
Reagan
say
Tilson.
anything at this point, the citizens, after everybody's spoken, do we make comments?
No, unless you're a citizen from the town of Erwin.
I am.
You are?
I'm Danny Baker, Chris Baker's mom. Yeah.
Well, we've already had this. We've
So, all right. So he's got two different stipulations. He says, oh. Unless you're a citizen of the city, no, you can't speak. I am. Oh, well, we already did that. What?
Comments?
No, unless you're a citizen from the town of Erwin.
I am.
You cannot. You are?
I'm Danny Baker, Chris Baker's mom. Yeah.
Well, we've already had this. We've already had that. That's part
I
of
know
it.
that we have,
Right.
but
No,
we should still
we have to
get a
go by the
comment
agenda.
afterwards. So after
She's not even listening to, like, she's trying to say, like, yeah, but no one knew what was the details until now.
all the citizens have also heard about this.
Ma'am, I opened the meeting up for citizens of the city to speak. You did not speak.
Why? Why? Why would that be first? Before anybody knows, both sides of the story, that's when we have public comments. I've never seen, like, we watch other city councils all the fucking time. They bring up the topics, they bring up where they stand, they bring up the issues, they bring up every fucking thing, have the people testify and come and speak, and then the citizens speak before the vote. The last thing. Not here. Speak first.
That session is closed. Please be quiet.
So we can't speak.
No, ma'am, you
Sit
cannot.
kind of
No,
back so that
ma'am,
we
ma'am,
can-
you cannot.
Okay.
We
You don't
have
have to get upset.
I'm not upset,
Yes.
ma'am. We have an order
Yes.
of agenda.
Yeah, you're clearly upset. You're fucking over here pressed, dude.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'm not upset. We have to keep an ordered meeting. Now, I done gave the opportunity for citizens to speak and no one spoke.
And if you time, you can go and I could have been on.
Ma'am, I'm sorry. It's
On the red light, if you burn.
Ma'am, please.
If you burn.
Ma'am,
She said, in the time you kept going, I could have already spoke. Which is true. The mayor is elected by the oldest, widest, most loyal church goers.
if you don't stop, I'm going to ask you to leave.
It can make.
Ma'am, I'm asking you to be quiet, please. Okay, board members, I need a motion.
I move to approve Mr. Bailey's recommendation.
Do I have a second? Do I have a second?
I second.
Mr. Bailey?
They have one of those cards they hold up like at the paint store, and you come in and it's ultra Caucasian, I think. They asked to see if you've written any notes in your Bible. The town's so fucking old, dude. So old. Atsuko came here from Japan. Atsuko, have you ever seen as many churches in your life as you have here? I can stand at the front door of one church and yell at people at a different church, no matter which church I pick. Like, it's insane, dude. It's fucking insane. I guarantee you there are places in this town where I can stand at one church and see 5 other churches. So what happens is a church starts and they're all good and it's a new church, and then some gossip starts that fractures a church and they break off and build their own church a block down the road. And that's been going on for 200 goddamn years.
I second.
Mr. Bailey.
Nobody wanted a second. Why is he staring at her so hard?
I second.
He just stares at her until she says it. That's so weird, right? He's not looking back and forth. He's staring at this woman on the end in the blue until she says it.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Mr. Bailey, would you call the roll?
There's a motion and a second. Now we have discussion as board.
Go ahead and discuss. Yes, sir.
So he tried to skip the discussion, right? So there's a motion, a second, then the board discussion, like they talk amongst themselves. But he's like, "Oh well, can you call the roll?" He tried to skip this, right?
Vice Mayor Hatcher, when you were first elected, you asked me if I should abstain from an event downtown because you felt like it may be a conflict of interest.
Yep.
Since I'm at bar downtown.
Yep.
Well, since Frank Rogers and Reagan Tilson have both announced candidacies for sheriff, and they have announced that you are the campaign treasurer for the opposing sheriff campaign, do you not feel?
He's on. Listen, when Michael Baker first got elected, there was an event that was going to have alcohol served downtown. And the Bible thumpers came out of nowhere. And they made Michael Baker abstain from voting because he owned a bar. Okay? He wasn't planning on being part of the event. He didn't put on the event. He didn't set up the event. He didn't bring the event to the town. They just made him abstain because he owned a bar and stood to benefit. But this motherfucker is part of the opposite campaign. He's the treasurer for the other guy running for sheriff, and he's like, man, I don't know. I think I'm good here.
Feel like it's a violation or a conflict for you to vote on that?
I am not treasurer. I am secretary. And
Whatever. He's a secretary.
this was not announced until after this incident. So, no, and I did not have a conflict with it whatsoever. I have integrity, and I will vote my integrity.
I have integrity. You got permission. It's private property. I have integrity, and I will vote my integrity. Look, Michael Baker he's got his work cut out for him, for sure.
Thank you. Please remain. Please, let's keep order. Let's keep order. Okay, I have a motion, I have a second. Is there any other board's discussion? Mr. Bailey, will you call the roll?
Alderman Baker.
No.
Alderwoman Huskins.
No.
Alderman Chandler.
Yes.
Alderwoman Vaughn.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hatcher. Yes. Mayor White.
Yes. Moving on. Now the decision is for the charter, which is basically the constitution of the city. It's my decision. Citizens and friends, I have reviewed Mr. Phillips Baker's independent investigation on this report and in this matter. I have reviewed Mr. Tilson's personnel file. I have considered Mr. Bailey's rationale in making his decision to terminate Mr. Tilson. I've heard and considered citizens' comments, which they were none at this time.
You better hope we never slip into a fucking purge event, guys. Holy fuck. I'm going to kick your goddamn teeth in. If we were in the movie The Purge, okay?
The town's attorney's recommendation and Mr. Tilson's attorney's recommendation. I've listened to this board.
I don't know. I've been praying about it. I hope not.
deliberations, every decision according to Mr. Tilson's termination. It is clear to me from all these sources that there's a great
Lock him up. Hit the road.
Tilson's done for the town of Erwin during his career. However,
20 years. 17 as chief of police. Not a single negative thing ever in his file. Get the fuck out of here. You're running for sheriff? Get the fuck out of here. By the way, he didn't announce that he was going to be running for sheriff until after some of this had happened. But the whole rumors, what we already knew he was running for sheriff, right? We already knew.
from this report, Mr. Tilson has a problem with alcohol use. Mr. Baker's independent report makes that clear. Mr. Tilson failed an alcohol test on June 30, 2025, which is a violation of the town of Erwin's.
And at this point, you could still say, we're going to require him to go to counseling, to go to therapy, to go to Alcoholics Anonymous. We're going to, he's not going to be able to drive a car until he completes these programs or carry a firearm. You can still put out, nope, fuck it, fired.
Drug and alcohol testing policy for safety-sensitive positions. Mr. Baker found that the test was properly conducted and was a valid test. Mr. Baker also found that the town of Erwin was justified in disciplining Mr. Tilson up to and including termination for his violation of the town of Erwin's drug and alcohol testing policy from safety-sensitive positions. It has now been discovered after Mr. Baker's investigation on the failed alcohol test that it appears Mr. Tilson has submitted a document to the Peace Officer Standing Training Commission. Certified training occurred.
Which has nothing to do with this. This is not a disciplinary hearing on that. We have no idea what's going on. It hasn't been investigated yet. It's literally just been announced like, hey, these two pieces of paperwork don't align. So we're going to figure that out. That's it. There's nothing to do with it, but he's going to bring it up, right?
Doesn't matter now.
Yeah, we're just not part of this.
Ma'am, if you say another word, I'm going to have you removed from the meeting. I've asked you 3 times to be quiet.
That's not part of this, and that's true.
For better or for worse, I'm elected by the people, and I'm going to do my duty. Now, I'm going to finish this. You are asked not to comment. You had your chance. If you're a citizen of Unicoi County, this does not affect you. You're not a citizen of the town of Erwin. So I ask you, please, be quiet. But this discovery of document,
He's pressed.
which appears to be false report that our officers engaged in training that did not occur, greatly concerns him. The integrity of our police chief is critical for our community to have confidence in our police department and to be an effective leader. Mr. Tilson was initially offered an opportunity to return to work if he would get help for his issues of alcohol use and to be subject to certain conditions he was going to return to work. Mr. Tilson's response to me that he would not follow those conditions for his return to work. The duty of this board and the duty of the mayor is to ensure that our citizens can be confident in our...
He's the type of guy that takes everything. I saw him get in a fist fight with another history teacher when I was in school. Because the other history teacher said, well, I think they prefer my history class more than yours. He takes everything fucking personal. It's like he's going to cry here. That's our mayor, Coach Howard. They got in a fist fight in the hall. Me and Scott Schultz broke them up. Had to pull them off each other.
police chief. For these reasons,
I was in Coach Howard's room one time. And I can't remember if I asked him for a pen or something. It was just me and him in a room, and I was leaning over his desk, and I asked him for something, a pen or something. I had a piece of paper in front of me. Maybe I was signing something or putting my name. I don't remember. And he pulled out his top desk drawer. And the drawer came all the way out, and it fell, and a goddamn bong fell out and hit the ground and shattered. A glass water bong fell out of his desk drawer and shattered on the floor. And I looked at him, and he looked at me, and we both looked back down, and I looked back at him, and he looked back at me, and nobody said anything. I just fucking left. Like, I don't know what happened there.
the decision to terminate Reagan Tilson employment as chief of police for the town. With that being said, that decision is final. Now we're moving on to
the audio is about to get real bad.
What we're going to ask the citizens, the residents of the citizens and
he hated Coach Howard and Coach Phipps because they would go out and drink and hang out. We used to see them at bars all the time, like in Johnson City. Well, not even bars. We'd see them at like Newman's and Hooters, and they wouldn't be drunk, but they'd be drinking beer. But his God condemns those who look at alcohol.
Reagan residents that are here to remain seated in your seat, please. To remain seated in your seat. The state highway patrol will escort the Board of Mayor and Alderman out of the meeting room. Then at that time, you can leave.
If I wasn't such a gentleman, I would talk about some dirty things I did with your daughter.
Have a motion for adjournment.
I'm refraining. I'm not going to. That's not what this meeting's about, okay? That's not what this meeting's about.
Do I have a second? All in favor say aye. Aye. We are adjourned.
This is disgusting. It's disgusting. It's so disgusting.
Ooh, we hear people saying disgusting over and over again. They're trying to get the fuck out of there, dude. Trying to get the fuck out of there. Anyways, that's all this video's about. The dude's getting fucking railroaded. I don't want to put anything else in it because I'm hoping people might see it from the town or something. But anyways, fuck them. That was a railroad from the get-go, dude. And then people sitting on the campaign of the guy that he's running against sheriff against, which my memory may be wrong, but the other guy that's running for sheriff, when me and my sister were in school, he was in special ed classes. And this motherfucker's about to be sheriff. Like, I don't even know that he got a real diploma. Anyways, welcome to Erwin. Thank you guys for joining us. If you want to support the show, go to buymeacoffee.com/coldbeer. That's how we pay the bills. That's how we keep the show going. Like, share, send it out, whatever you want to do. This is Erwin. That's where I'm from. That's where I live. Anyways, thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for being here. No, I didn't. Let's go see. Hold on. Wait, we're not done. Chill, chat. God damn, calm down. Michael Baker's post. Today, prior to the board meeting, Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting, I was informed that all members of the board would be escorted in and out of our meeting. I arrived early and walked in with everyone else. At the end of the meeting, during the mayor's report portion, I was so sickened by how the meeting was handled and by the vote that I walked away and stepped into the hallways as I had also been asked to wait so the board could be escorted out together. I did not feel it was necessary to sit through the mayor's restating from a prepared letter everything that had already taken place before the vote. Once the meeting concluded, I walked back with the group in the administrative office. It was there that the mayor yelled at me, called me a shit stirrer, and telling me to put this on Facebook. So here you are. He also told me I was not a team player. That's not the goal, you fucking retard. I'm not a team player, and reminded me that he is the mayor and he defeated me twice. As he requested, I'm sharing the rest of my story. After being escorted out of the town hall by 7 state troopers, I can honestly say I felt safer in the meeting room with the public than I did with some of my fellow elected officials. I will never back down to bullies, and I will always advocate for what my constituents ask of me. Sincerely, Michael Baker. Holy shit. Holy shit! Thanks, Michael Baker, for standing up. The dude's a goddamn loose cannon. He's a fucking lunatic. I am glad I did those things with your daughter now. Anyways, that's everyone. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. I'm just joking about all that. That's not real. That's in a hypothetical situation. I would hate to expose somebody. None of that's real. I made it all up. But thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. We'll see you about the next one. Have a good night. Support the show at buymeacoffee.com/coldbeer. That's the website here. You can buy 6-packs is what they're called, but they're $5 a piece. Send a message. We'll read it out on stream, and that's how I pay the bills. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for being here. I'll see you guys on the next one. Have a good night. Love you. See you. Bye.
But I can tell you this about if this douchebag happens to see this particular show, you don't have the
fucking loose cannon, dude.
The people on this planet by name and tell them exactly who they are and tell them the rest of the world who they are. You don't have the forking balls. You don't have the balls.
Okay, Scott.
Here we go. I think I started some shit.
I'm running for sheriff. Fuck it. We'll get me some fucking like Old West sheriff clothes.
Here we go. I think I started
Spurs and shit.
piss 'em off. It's about to get lit. Get the place in the best. You know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet.
I can't pass the drug test. I'm sorry. I'm not running.
6 cents for the stupid shit. Where my true believer? Yeah.
At least I got a real high school diploma.
The Lord, head to the extreme. All these false fucking prophets who profit off of gossip. Worshiping drums, cocking, begging for a throat to pop.
Didn't get that one where they teach you how to like use the microwave and do laundry.
To the shaft, eating his chest like he's King Kong. Starving for attention, I'ma make your gut burst. I'll be your huckleberry, I can quench that thirst. Baby eating lizard people, alien sex. What's next?
Assisted living diploma.
Best climbing up 5G towers, cause you told him if he did, he'd get fucking superpowers. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss him off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the bed.
Is he a veteran? No, hell no.
You ain't seen none yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit.
He was a high school teacher.
About to get lit, get the place in the
His wife worked at the YMCA. He's got a bunch of kids though.
up, cause you ain't seen none yet. I used to find clues too when I was high on shrooms. I found myself a tunnel that led to Jason Q's bedroom. Open his closet, I found some of his meat rockets. I strapped him to my
G-Dub's what we call him. G-Dub
I found myself in orbit strapped to an F-16.
for Glenn White.
With Trump in between, put on a light coat of baby oil and saluted the troops. He tapped me on the shoulder and said, "This is gonna be it." Wait. Stop. What? What? I'll get my files. What are you doing?
He got in trouble for handing out campaign signs and having them up in his classroom while teaching at the high school.
Give me oh my God. Damn it. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better
God told him to, I think.
you ain't seen none yet.
Good night, guys.
Go, I think I started some shit.
Somebody save me. Where can I move to?
Lit, get the place in
I had to go into witness protection.
the set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet.